for all kids, we have to start with their strengths and acknowledging and recognizing that every kid has strengths, and that's a really big orientation at our school. My team is doing a bunch of work this year using the book Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. She recommends doing this thing called asset-based feedback conferences, where you sit with a young person around a piece of work that they've done. You affirm the things they've done well in that work, and then you sort of really give them targeted feedback on places to improve. And the kid kind of is a part of that conversation and dialogue around like, here's what you do well, and here's some really significant shifts that I want you to make to sort of move to the next level of independence. And Josh is a young man who has a lot of academic skills, but lacks a lot of confidence. And so our conference was really about affirming his strengths and giving him the feedback that we actually think he can be a lot more independent than he is right now. And so then we really started to name the really specific strengths that we see in him in terms of his engagement, his curiosity, his actually really concrete reading and writing skills, his sort of like willingness to stay after school to get work done. Like, so it's not just like that generalized, generic, you're doing a good job. Like, that's not the point. The point is to really show a kid like you see them and you know what they're doing well. And it was really interesting to sort of see him even shift in the few weeks after that conversation. Like, I think he almost just needed us to see him and name that like we really do believe in him and we think he's really capable. And I don't know that he'd had that conversation in that way, you know, with 4 of your teachers sitting at the table with you. You know, he started the conference and was like, am I in trouble? What did I do? It was just like a whole different paradigm for him to have a group of teachers sit around him and focus on like both affirming him and also really being concrete about places for progress. So I think Josh's just sort of general presence in class is different. Like, he has a little bit more confidence. He's not asking as many questions. If he does ask a question and it's a question that like he could have answered for himself, it's really easy for me to be like, remember, Josh, what are some of the things we talked about in this meeting, in that meeting about like what strategies you should try before you go to like, I can't do this, I don't know how. And he will go back and be like, and in a really good humored way, be like, you're right, like I'm gonna go back and check that thing. And we're doing this with like 8 kids who we've sort of identified as kids who we think can really move from being dependent learners to independent learners. But like the truth of the matter is like we should do this for every kid. We have to hold that even for the kid who is struggling the most, having the hardest time, pushing the buttons of everyone in the world the hardest, like that young person has strengths. Like we need to do that for our own sort of like mental and emotional health around that kid. Like we need to hold their strengths at the center, because otherwise I think people start to quit on kids or they blame kids. And those things aren't productive or effective, especially in conversations with young people. Starting with their strengths is super important, because I think a lot of our kids have gotten a lot of negative messages from school about all the ways in which they are failing. Part of our work as teachers, I think, is to help kids see how much more they are than like a test score or a grade or like what you did on this one assignment, but like to be able to see and hold all of who kids are and name for them like all the strengths that they have. Because if we can't do that, then I don't think they're gonna be able to hear it when we need to give them feedback on the places where they can improve.